Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Tonight, as we go to air, emergency services are on the scene of a fatal head-on collision at Latrobe. It's understood one person has died as a result of the two-vehicle crash, which occurred late this afternoon. Our reporter Sean McComish is on the stretch of road where it happened and joins me now. Sean, what do we know?
Louise, emergency services were called here to Golconda Road in Latrobe at 2 this afternoon. It's believed a Mitsubishi Highlander was travelling along the road and when it collided head-on with a Mitsubishi Challenger as it crossed onto the wrong side of the road. A Tasmanian woman in her 60s died at the scene. 2 others have been taken to hospital with injuries. It's the second fatal tragedy on our roads this Christmas. A report will be prepared for the coroner. Back to you, Louise.
OK, Sean, thank you for that. Now to the day's other news, and Wild Oats 11 has held on to its Sydney-Hobart victory after a protest against the Super Maxi was deemed invalid. Our sports reporter Tom Cooper joins us live from the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania. Tom, how did it all play out today?
Good evening, Louise. Well, it's quite put quite simply, it was sheer relief for skipper Mark Richards and the crew of Wild Oats 11 here this afternoon. The protest hearing lasted around an hour and a half with an international race committee trying to determine whether the Super Maxi breached any rules by not having its automatic identification system on for the entirety of the race. But as we heard, the 9-time line honours winner held on to victory, getting the all clear just a few hours ago. Let's take a look at how the afternoon played out. It was a case of deja vu as the crew of Wild Oats 11 arrived back at the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania exactly 1 year after having their 2017 victory stripped. But this time, the news was far better.
But, you know, obviously this year, very happy with the outcome, and it's a very different situation last year, and we respected the decision last year and we respect the decision this year, so we're very happy. Following yesterday's thrilling finish in what was labelled as the most exciting Sydney-Hobart in history, the owner of second place Blackjack, Peter Harburg, claimed Wild Oats 11 was untrackable at times, accusing the winner of switching off its automatic identification system as part of a tactical ploy, but choosing not to lodge an official protest. Our ass is on the whole time, Matt, and I've got no comment on that. So Pete's a good guy. You know, and you know, we have a lot of respect for those guys. Always will, always have, and that's just the way it is. It's sport, but you know, it's sport. A little bit of tension, a bit more controversy. I guess that's just the way it rolls. The International Race Committee investigation thrown out this afternoon, allowing Wild Oats 11 to hold on to its 9th line honours win.
In these circumstances, for the protest to be valid under the racing rules of sailing, a competitor with the information about a potential rule breach must lodge a protest. And following another nervous day of awaiting their fate, Richards and his crew are now free to fully celebrate their most memorable Sydney-Hobart win. Time to have a nice cold Cascade. All right.
As thousands of music fans flood to day one of the Falls Festival, police have urged partygoers to have fun but to do so safely. On the ground at Marion Bay, police today said there would be a large cohort of uniformed and plainclothes officers on site, as well as drug detection dogs. Event organisers are working closely with police in the lead up to the festival to ensure guests feel safe in crowded spaces. The warning relevant as another Tasmanian takes to social media to share her case of suspected drink spiking in Hobart last night. Police are urging people to immediately report any concerning incidents. The revamped Taste of Tasmania festival is celebrating bumper crowds after more than 45,000 hungry guests walked through the gates last night. Some stallholders were left feeling starstruck after international cooking personality Martha Stewart stopped by for a visit.
We had Martha Stewart, who's a culinary legend in the stage. She dropped by and we had a beer together over the counter, which was very special.
But today it was all about the kids. From face painting to unicorn hairdos, there was plenty to keep the whole family entertained.
It's about creating an environment for people to come down on site and relax. So that means if you've got a family, the kids are engaged and the parents can sit down, and it's a really safe, family-friendly festival.
The iconic festival continues again tomorrow. A young Tasmanian is today preparing to embark on an inspirational marathon run, despite living with a degenerative lung condition. Along the way, she's hoping to raise much-needed funds for the cause, which is close to her heart.
This training run, just a walk in the park for this part-time marathon runner.
I just sort of started doing long distance runs. Then after that, I finished that. I thought I could do a little bit more. And then so I went and did the half marathon and then the full marathon.
A particularly impressive feat, given Lizzie lives with cystic fibrosis, a degenerative lung condition with no cure.
The best you can hope to do is slow it down, but ultimately CF leads to a loss of lung function and in many cases ultimately a double lung transplant. Despite the barriers, the 21-year-old will head to New Zealand in February to run the 155-kilometre Great Lake Relay, part of the Run for the Roses team, each person running multiple legs of the race.
Once you begin to know your boundaries and know where's comfortable and where's not, the more you get comfortable with that, I guess then you can start pushing your limits a bit more and seeing how far you can go and surprising yourself too.
Along the way, Lizzie hopes to raise $5,000 for Cystic Fibrosis Tasmania.
There are about 110 people in Tasmania with cystic fibrosis, which might not sound like much, but CF is actually more prevalent in Tasmania than any part of Australia, and we have the second highest incidence of cystic fibrosis in the world.
I've had a really good experience with CF Tas. I mean, they've been with me throughout my disease management. And I've definitely reaped the rewards of a lot of the fundraisings that they've done before, so it's nice to give back to that.
Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
2018 was a year of highs and lows for the Tasmanian Labor Party, including a devastating loss at the March state election. But as we prepare for a new year ahead, our reporter Michelle Wisby sat down with the party's leader, Rebecca White, to look back at the year that was.
It was the year Rebecca White could have become Tasmania's new Premier. Popularity polls predicting the party leader was in with a strong chance, but it wasn't meant to be.
Given that, months and weeks of effort and tireless campaigning, what was it like on, that March 3 date when you found out that you hadn't won?
The election date itself was a combination of euphoria because we had picked up some seats, combined with, of course, regret that we weren't able to win and succeed.
It was a long and hard-fought road to the March election for the Labor Party, basing its campaign on removing poker machines from pubs and clubs.
Your main things you were campaigning on was the poker machines. Do you think that was a mistake to put so much of your efforts into that one very specific issue?
When you challenge the status quo on something like that, whether it be that issue or another issue, you're going to come up against those people who want the status quo to remain, and we saw that during the election campaign.
A strategy that failed to gain enough traction to get them over the line, losing the election but adding 3 extra politicians to the ranks.
That was a tough time, it was a busy time, and obviously the outcome there wasn't what we would have liked. But at the same time, we've got a terrific new team now who are working incredibly hard.
Miss White admitting it can be an irritating position.
We want to get into government so we can achieve these outcomes on behalf of the people of our communities who are telling us that right now what's happening is not good enough.
Is that frustrating at times?
Always. It's very frustrating.
Left spending much of the year pushing Labor's own ideas about the ongoing health crisis, increased funding its #1 priority.
Until you properly fund services, you're going to continue to see the problems in our emergency department with ramping and with bed blockage. There needs to be a focus on preventative health, focus on providing better access to services in community.
But Labor had one thing on its side, successfully nominating Liberal MP Sue Hickey as Speaker, a presence much more likely to vote with Labor than the Liberals candidate, stalwart Reen Hidding, a risk that paid off throughout 2018.
We anticipated that she, being a much more moderate member of the Liberal Party, would be fairer in the chair and actually allow debate to occur that was more reflective of what the community wanted.
We're still 3 years out from another election, but Miss White said she's not going anywhere.
We've got unfinished business. There's so much that I want to achieve for this state.
Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Hurricane skipper Matthew Wade says the side isn't getting ahead of itself, despite notching up a third win on the trot in Hobart overnight. Wade starred with the bat against the Sydney Thunder, belting 85 runs off 49 balls, chasing a hefty total of 193. The match came down to the final over, with Simon Malenko delivering the winning runs.
That'll be 4, and there's the result. The Hurricanes stay undefeated. They're 3 from 3. Sure. It was a thrilling run chase.
The atmosphere was really good at Blundstone. There was 10,000 people there, but they were certainly very, very loud, so no, it was a good win.
Big Bash action returns to Launceston tomorrow, with the women's side desperate for a result against the Brisbane Heat, having won just one of their past 8 matches.
It's important to try and get a win over the next, over these 2 games here in Lonnie, and we know that they're going to be a tough opposition, but we also know that we're going to be competitive against them.
The clash begins at 2 p.m. before the men's game against the Perth Scorchers, which starts just after 7 o'clock. You can watch both games right here on 7 Tasmania. To the day's other sport news now, and following one of the tightest finishes in Sydney Hobart history, it was a very similar story in the annual Launceston to Hobart. Fierce rivals Fork in the Road and Tilt were neck and neck for the entire race, with the 2 yachts arriving in the River Derwent within just a few minutes of each other around midday today. It was Fork in the Road skipper Gary Smith and his crew who claimed bragging rights in the end, taking their 7th Lion Honours victory. Meanwhile, the Melbourne to Devonport wrapped up late last night. Dream, skippered by Robert Skipper, was first across the line just after 9 o'clock. While the yacht sailed well ahead of the pack, soft winds saw it fail to break any records. This year's race has been described as frustrating by crews, owing to the challenging conditions on the water. Tassie basketballer Adam Gibson has passed a major milestone, joining the NBL's exclusive 400 club, after lining up for the Brisbane Bullets in their clash against the Sydney Kings. Now in his 14th season at the top level, Gibson is only the 46th player to reach the 400 games mark. He's also one of the most selfless.
In 399 games, you've got 1,520 assists. How many dunks?
I remember it vividly in Maddie because there was only one of them, and it was with the Dragons in Illawarra. We're up by about 40 points and there was a breakaway. So there's a little pop in where they was trying to sneak it off me, but 1 out of 399, so we'll see if we can go for a second one tonight.
Unfortunately, the Bullets couldn't cap it off with a win. Jerome Randall and Andrew Bogut put on a masterclass for the Kings, who won 75-68. The victory means Sydney will finish an NBL round on top of the ladder for the first time in more than 2 years. Star runner Dion Kenzie has pulled off an impressive back-to-back victory in the mile at last night's Latrobe Carnival. He wasn't the only Tasmanian to enjoy a win, with a Devonport teenager also making her mark.
Packing into the stands, the crowd wasn't short of a good show at the Latrobe Carnival. This nail-biting finish leaving German Moritz Orgenstein the fastest man on wheels. The 21-year-old certainly wasn't showing the stress, even with Sam Welsford in the pack chasing a 4th consecutive win.
Yeah, I see it, but it was very close. 10 meters more to go and I'm lost it.
Alexandra Manley didn't let a broken collarbone from October hold her back from picking up first in the women's wheel. And Stuart McSwain made his carnival return, starting from the scratch mark in the mile. While the King Island export stormed his way to 4th, it wasn't enough to catch Devonport's Dion Kenzie.
I think with these carnival races, I think the best strategy is always just to run your heart out from the start, and that's what I did, and that's what I do, and it paid off today.
In the gift, Devonport's 19-year-old Brooke Jones proved persistence is everything.
I came 3rd in 2015, ran at Devonport and broke my foot, so this has been a comeback for the last 3 years, really.
Melburnian Matt Napier found himself at the peak of his running career.
Oh, it obviously means a lot to me. It's probably my biggest achievement in my running career, and I'll probably be back because I'm really enjoying it down here.
Fellow Victorian Braden Myers showed he had the stuff when it came down to the chop. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Good evening. The highest temperature recorded today was at Friendly Beaches with 28 degrees, 26 for Hobart, Launceston and Burnie, Devonport all reaching 25, 27 on Maria Island, 24 for Ouse, Grove 23, Flinders Island and Low Head 21 degrees and 20 for Lyweenie and Strawn. The satellite shows broken middle and high level cloud over Bass Strait and the northeast of the state with convective cloud visible about the southwest. Zooming out now, and a band of middle and high level cloud extends from Western Australia to the Tasman Sea. A low has developed over the southern part of the Tasman Sea. On to boating now. Southeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, reaching 20 knots offshore, tending easterly tomorrow afternoon, then northeasterly in the evening. Tomorrow, Hobart 23, Richmond 25, Ouse sunny and 26 degrees, 28 for Launceston, 23 for Devonport and 25 for Deloraine, sunny for Burnie and Curry. Strawn mostly sunny and 20 degrees. Rain on the way for St Helens though, 22 degrees, a light drizzle at times for Swansea and 21 for Whitemark. The UV forecast is very high to extreme. Taking a look at the days ahead now, Monday fine apart from the chance of showers about the far northwest. Tuesday showers about the west and far south but otherwise fine, and on Wednesday showers about the west and developing about the east in the evening. Taking a look around the country, tomorrow Perth and Adelaide 28, showers for Canberra and Melbourne. Cairns and Darwin a possible storm and a hot 43 degrees for Alice Springs. And currently in Hobart it's 24 and sunny, Launceston 22 partly cloudy, Devonport 21 also partly cloudy, and that's the weather for this Saturday evening. Back to you, Lou.
Thanks, Jessie. That's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. We hope you have a lovely and safe evening. Good night.